Now, I don't want to spend the rest of my work life staring at a bedroom wall, do you? I'm not working in my bedroom, I'm sleeping in my office. Yet, I see survey after survey that tells us that people feel much more productive working from home than working from the office. And many people want it to be a big part of how they work in the future. So the future will see us working more from home, yes. And the office will also continue to be important. But I think what this current point in time has taught us is the failure of the office as we know it today, or knew it today. The open plan solutions that are one size fits nobody, activity-based workplaces that don't support teams coming together. So the opportunity of the moment is to think about what's great about working from home and how do we use that to make our offices better, and how do we make working from home better in the future. My name's Peter Andrew. I'm a workplace strategist at CBRE, the world's largest real estate company. And my job there is to look at work through the lens of people, space, technology, and behavior. And for the first time in 25 years of my career, workplace has truly hit the C-suite. It's truly at the top level of importance in most organizations. And that's exciting for me and it's terrifying. Because the challenge at the moment is we don't know what we don't know. We are in undefined, uncharted territory. Everything we knew, the rules, the data we had before to help us design workplaces is redundant. And so the art and science of workplace strategy is to reimagine the future and to reimagine the science to forecast what is it that we need in our offices in the future. And let's talk a little bit about what we do know already, something we know already, and that's about how remote working is working. First of all, we know there's no urgency to come back to the office. Initially, after the pandemic hit, organizations rushed to see how many people they could get back into the office and cram into the office with physical distancing. And then they realized they didn't have to. But working from home was okay, at least in the interim. And then we started to understand the advantages. Saving time. No one's missing the commute into the office. And we're in familiar surroundings. And we've got easy access to food and family, maybe too much access to food. And we have more control over how we work and who we work with and less distraction. I've got one client said to me the other day, Peter, you know what? I don't know if I could handle working back in the office again. The noise, the distraction, I've got really comfortable with this working from home thing. I feel so much more productive. Yet the jury's still out. Are we really more productive? What about creativity? What about the need to see people to work? Is that important? Do we really understand only 3, 4, 6 months into this pandemic situation how this will play out? And how suitable really are people's homes for long-term working from home? And there are known concerns, the impact of not being part of a community and the stress and the mental health issues. And again, we may need to wait 6 or 12 months to truly understand those impacts and how to deal with them, how to mitigate them. And there's some ethical issues we need to get our heads around as organizations and corporations, because it's one thing to say to somebody, look, work from home when you want to. But if you tell somebody that working from home is the default way you work and you come into the office when you need to, then we're telling people to work from home. And that's not part of the organizational agreement that we had when we started work. What are the ethics of that? What's the practicality of that? And what's the corporate liability of that? Taking on that responsibility of work from home workplaces. And I think as organizations start to build their strategies, they need to dig into these and uncover them. And is it true that we can really save money from working from home? So let me just test an assumption here with you. I hear this from CFOs all the time. Hey, 30% of our people want to work from home, or they want to work from home 30% of the time. Hey, doesn't that mean that we could just automatically save 30% of our real estate cost? Well, I actually don't think that's true at all. And to the excitement of the brokers and the investors and owners of property around the world, I don't think we're going to see a dramatic drop in the amount of real estate that we have, but we're going to use it very, very differently. But let's go back to that question of how much money I can save. Now, the green line you see on the screen at the moment is the attendance across a week, typically across Asia, that we've seen for the last 5 years, pre-COVID. And generally about 75% of people were coming into the office on any particular day, and there'd always be a day of the week that was a slightly higher peak than the other days. Now, if we then layer 1 to 2 days working from home, about 1.5 days on average a week, How will that play out? How will that affect attendance in the office? Well, the CFO would like to assume that it's going to be flat attendance again, that the same number of people will turn up Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, and they can make this giant saving. However, we know that people are not predictable. And we know already from other parts of the world, working from home for the last 5 years, people love to work at home on a Friday and a Monday. And teams tend to pick a day of the week when everybody comes into the office. And so the challenge is, if there's one day of the week when everybody wants to be in the office, then you need to design for that. That's the peak attendance. That's what we need to support in the office. It doesn't matter that people aren't there for the rest of the week. So flattening the attendance curve of how often people come into the office is going to be a really critical part of making any savings. And look, already we can make this saving. Activity-based working or desk sharing has already been trying to shave a big saving out of that 25% of people not in the office every day of the week. But let's not make this false assumption. The actual saving going forward may just be the delta, the difference between that peak day people are in the office and the situation we already had. And you need to layer onto that one more really important question. Just because people can work from home doesn't mean they should work from home, and doesn't mean they will work from home, because people are telling us at the moment, yeah, I want to work 3-4 days a week from home in a survey. It's a survey. It's a point in time. Are you going to base a real estate strategy for the next 5 years on what someone is filling out in the survey today? How do you test that data? How can you be certain that it's right? And what are your backup plans if it goes wrong? Because the last thing you want to do is to have to enforce people to work from home because you didn't create enough real estate for them. And if coming into the office is a really business critical thing to do, that could be a disaster for organizations. So looking at those two false assumptions, and how does that play out with my how much money can I save scenario? So let's look at the maths of this. Now, we assumed because 30% of people were working from home at any point in time, that would save us 30%. We know that's false. So taking into account the erraticness factor, maybe actually only we should be saving 20% of our space. And actually, maybe some of the people were already working from home, or maybe some of the people can't work from home, prefer to work from the office. So maybe it only affects 3/4 of our population. So maybe our savings only 15%. And then actually, you can only apply that to some of your space. You're not going to make the boardroom 1/4 smaller, the reception area 1/4 smaller, just because less people are coming into the office. So you need to factor that in as well. So add up all of those numbers, and what looked like a 30% saving might actually only be a 10% saving. And I want to cover one other false assumption, and that's the assumption that we can do all of our focus work at home when we're working from home, and we'll do all of our collaborative work when we're in the office. It doesn't make sense, because at work, we switch all the time between those two activities. Okay, I'm working from home, and it's great for getting concentrated work done, but I spend half my day on phone calls, on Zoom calls. And when I'm in the office, it will be the same. We're not going to spend the entire day collaborating. We might collaborate in bursts, and then we need to go and focus or take our phone calls or socialize with other people. And so both our virtual realm and our physical realm of work is going to need to let us switch between those two things. So I don't see the future of the office as being a giant cafe. I see too many offices already today where we build too much of the wrong kind of collaboration space. Yes, we need some space to connect and network, and cafes are a great place to do that. But collaboration is about making, it's about creating, and you don't do that in a cafe. And I think there's a real need to invent a whole range of new kinds of spaces where we can create and make things together in the offices of the future. And at the same time, provide those places to concentrate and think. And importantly, give opportunities for younger people, for less experienced people to learn, to overhear, to see what other people are doing, because that's the fastest way to learn. To have people jump in and help you out when you're making a mistake, because they overhear that things are a little bit off track. They jump in quickly and they help you out. So offices are really important for that, and they're going to be really important for building community and trust and relationships and reinforcing what a culture of an organization is all about. So offices, I think, will diverge in two different directions. And the first option is the office as an attractor. It competes with home working. This is the scenario where people are working maybe 1 or 2 days a week from home. And think about it. I get up in the morning and I think, do I need to go to the office today? Or shall I work from home? The office needs to give compelling reasons why we need to come to the office. So expect those sorts of offices to have more wellness spaces, places to relax, places to connect and eat and create community together. And as we talked about before, the need, as in all offices, to create great places to collaborate, to make and to create things together, and to support people with that privacy and focused work. Perhaps we'll start to see in those offices the decline of the queue farm. And who knows what will happen with client and partner spaces, but I suspect we're going to be doing more things with our partners and vendors in the office. The other major kind of office that's likely to emerge is the office as a cultural or collaboration hub. And this is where it supplements home working. So we don't need the wellness spaces, and maybe we don't need the connect spaces. That will start to happen in people's home communities. But the collaborate and make space will be important. The privacy space will still be important. And maybe we'll see death to cubicles forever. And who knows what will happen with client and partner spaces. I think these kinds of offices will be very bespoke in their function. Some of them will have no places to eat. Some of them might be entirely about eating. And this is the area of I think most interesting exploration with clients right now. Hybrid working is going to create new problems for us as well that we need to solve. Number one, equal participation. We're all on a virtual space call at the moment. I have loved being in the virtual realm. I've been able to travel all around Asia minute by minute and join workshops and engage in meetings in ways I never could when there were 20 people in a room and I was the fly on the wall. So how do we manage that going forward? Now we've had that great experience of equal participation. What does that mean for the way we meet in offices in the future? And what's going to happen in terms of connections going forward? Our strong connections with our colleagues, with our family, have been quite easy to maintain in some ways during this pandemic. But those weak connections, that joy of having a chat to the guy who makes us coffee, of bumping into a colleague in the corridor we haven't seen for ages, those have been really missing in the workplaces, in the virtual workplaces. How are we going to address them in the future? And virtual meetings. Are they going to stay as prevalent as they are today? And are we going to sit in the office on Zoom calls, sitting at our desk? Or are we going to run to meeting rooms all the time? What are meeting rooms going to be for? This is all up for grabs in the future. We're certainly going to need technology to help us organize ourselves, to help teams come together, to help people organize who's in the office today, who's not, what days of the office, what days of the week, do we need to come into the office? And we're going to need to think about how we build and reinforce culture and what new cultures might emerge or need to emerge to help us work in this hybrid way in the future. People often ask me what other people are doing. And do you know what I normally say? I say, everybody's asking me what other people are doing. So we're in this state of unknownness. We're in this state of uncertainty. Exactly how should we go forward here? Yet companies are making some big bets on some really different solutions right now. And so let's have a little bit of a look at what is happening in the market at the moment. 11% of organizations we surveyed are saying, just roll back the clock, bring people back to the office as it was. 27% are saying, bring them back to the office. We're not really going to let people work from home, but you know what? This has made us rethink what our office should be about. We're particularly seeing this for large domestic companies in countries like Japan and China, the sort of organization that's been very slow to contemplate alternative, new and different workplaces. They are opening their eyes. And yet the majority, I would say, are saying, look, let's let people work 1 or 2 days a week from home, but let's make the office a great place to come to. That was that option one I talked about, the office as an attractor. And 11% are interested in that other option, that option of what would happen if people worked 3 or 4 days a week from home? What different kind of office would that create for us? And still yet another group, 17%, say, well, it's going to vary across our business. There is no one size fits everybody anymore, and we're going to have to tailor that differently for different parts of our business. Now, Byron asked me particularly today to talk about what's on my desk. What are the real projects this week that I've been working with my clients? And so I'll very quickly share some of those conversations with you. Firstly, number one, looking at what banks are doing offshore in India. So I had one client say to me that probably most of our people will never come back to the office, never come back to the office. They will retain working from home. Another organization said, same thing. We were looking to virtualize our contact centers anyway. We had a 5-year plan. We did it in 3 months. They'll never come back to the office. But for every organization doing that, there's another organization saying, yes, we'll let our people work more from home, but this really means we need to reinvent and rethink our offices. So how can we make our offices a better place to be? And I think if you look at markets like India, there's a huge opportunity to renovate and rethink what we do with offices. I particularly like this case study. This is a global pharma. And this global pharmaceutical company is saying, what would happen if people work 3 to 4 days a week from home? So they are already in an activity-based work environment, but they have neighborhoods within that environment, defined areas where teams come and work within that office. And it's all relatively homogenous across the whole office. But they're now thinking, well, maybe only part of that office is homogenous team hangout kind of space. And you know what? In that space, we're going to have pop-up teams. So no longer will we define neighborhoods, but teams should pop up as they want to. And maybe they're just doing that naturally, or maybe we start using technology to help teams book spaces and come together on an ad hoc basis when they are in the office. And in addition to that, we're going to create the connect zones that celebrate that ability to come together and meet people we haven't seen for a while. And the create zones, the make zones, but also notice the focus zone. And then the last one I wanted to talk about is a regional telco. And just some really early data coming in from surveys from their staff across Australia and Singapore. You can see here that the leadership are very keen, personally, the way they work, to come back into the office once this pandemic is all over. Yet the workforce, more generally, is actually pretty keen on mostly working from home, a little bit in the office. So we have a difference of work style here emerging between leaders and staff in general. And so we thought we would test this in a focus group. And this data is fresh today. And I'll just share these couple of comments with you. The world really has changed. 60% of the young people in the workshops today said that most employees who want to work a lot from home will continue to do so and make the case to do so in the future. It's the leaders that will need to adjust to the new reality. And it's going to be really important to create a safe space for managers and employees to sit down and work this out together to make it as effective as possible. So, life is very exciting with all of these projects at the moment. And if I start to reflect on what will happen in the future, behavior depends on how safe people feel. And change depends on how long we behave differently. So when all of this winds back, what will the new normal be? It's certainly going to be different. We can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. It's going to be diverse. People are more empowered than ever and equipped to choose how and where they work, wherever that is. And offices will change. Death to the cubicle. But just before I finish, there is a bigger picture, and that's around people. Organizations still need to attract talent, to build their skills, and to augment their skills. AI and new technologies will continue to change what work is. And that's what we should be thinking about when we think about the future of work. It's not just remote working, it's about the whole transformation of work. And what does that mean for the future of workplaces?